Now, the census has been scheduled for May 3 to May 5. And this census would cost the country at about 869 billion. Housing count is one that is come under a bit of controversy. Okay, the housing census and population count has been a long time coming. All right, it was initially scheduled for March 29 to April 2nd, 2023, and then it was moved because of the governorship elections in states. Now we have a situation where people at this point are still calling for a postponement of the national census, citing issues such as the, emotional state of the nation coming out of an election. There's still a bit of tension and all. Some of us are also saying, look, it's not time for us to have this census now. We can't have this census now because the devices, the NPC, that's the National Population Commission, is saying they would be deploying technology. And these guys are saying, look, the technology that you're deploying hasn't been tested. We haven't seen this before. Let's not have a situation or a repeat of what happened during the national elections where, beavers were set to work a certain way, but on the election day, it didn't work that way. Let's have forensic tests, screening and all that. Let's subject these devices or whatever technology it is that you're deploying to some level of screening and tests so that Nigerians can know for sure that these devices would work and this technology would work in the favor of Nigerians, so we don't have a situation where on that day or when that time comes for the census, certain reasons or excuses are given and then it is manipulated to favor certain regions. Now, do not forget that census determines a lot of economic factors. State allocations can be determined by the outcome of the census. Even creations of stuff like local governments can be determined by the population of a state. So people are saying, look, this is a very delicate thing that is going to be done. So why don't we take our time and wait a little longer before we do this, and ensure that it is not one that would be manipulated. We've heard people say stuff like, "Oh, the numbers in some geopolitical zones are not the actual numbers," because naturally you can have. It seems like Nigeria is the only country where you're moving away from, from the southern region or the wet regions. Population increases. So there's a lot of confusion as to what it is that the actual numbers are. There's been projections over time. The last time there was a census was 17 years ago in 2006. This census is long overdue. Again, now people are saying that this is not a time. So when would it ever be? Now, the administration would be leaving on the 29th of May. If this census would be conducted in just a few days or a few weeks before the administration leaves office, where does it leave us? Would the next administration be able to take decisions based on this census, or would they just suspend the whole entire thing? Would it also be like the national confab that was held in 2015? That the report was never used. It was said to be a waste of money. Don't forget that Nigeria seems to be broke at the moment. The economy seems not to be doing so well. If we're going to be spending 869 million naira on census, it really has to be done well. It really needs to be done, to be seen to be fair, and it should not be a waste of money. Okay, with the next administration that's taking over, be ready to do and carry on or continue with the outcome of this census? Or would they also say, you know what, this census wasn't commissioned by us, so we would maybe do another census, spending more money? Where does this leave us? I'll be joined in by Chima Christian, who is a public policy analyst. He's going to be joining us in this conversation. But in the meantime, you can join in and share your thoughts with us. What do you think of the national census that's scheduled for May 3 to May 5, 2023? Join the conversation now, 090-7353-0055. 0044 and 09087668888. That is 09073530044 and 09087668888. I've also heard people say, what? The monies we're going to use to conduct this census is too much. Why do we have to spend over 800 million naira, which is equivalent to about $1.88 billion? Shouldn't that money be deployed to something else? Shouldn't that money be used to, build infrastructure or better infrastructure and all that stuff? I'd hear from you this morning. Hello, good morning.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning, Yana. Good morning.
Good morning, Okwi. Good to have you.
And I greet all Nigerians.
We greet you too.
And I call you for Kubwa.
Go ahead, let's hear you.
My own take is on the issue of natural, what did I call it?
Population census.
National Population Commission, yes. To me, it's a wasting of time and a wasting of funds. We are talking of INEC last election. They don't give us what we want, and they are trying to waste our time and our energy and our fund. It's unfair. Talking of National Population Commission, me, I can't involve myself in such a thing. See, Nigerians, Mr. President, what we are yearning for is security, hunger, unemployment. This is what they are yearning for. Secure us, give us health. Give us good health so that we can look like a human being. If you're walking in the street today, if you read the faces of Nigeria, no one is silent because of hard economy and hunger everywhere, insecurity, killing here and there. So,
okay. When you say Nigeria, yes, yes, go ahead. Just go ahead.
Yes, what I want to tell Nigerian government, please, all this INEC, National Population Commission, please let them not come to my house, because if you come and knock my house, say you want to count me and my family members, I will not take it easy with you. If we visit, I will find them.
No, please, please. Okwi, you cannot in any way say that you're going to fight people. No, I would have to let you go. I'm sorry, but look, these are people who don't even know you. They're commissioned to do a job. They come in to count. They're coming to just count Nigerians. This is one of the reasons some of the people who are calling for the postponement of the census, this is one of the reasons. They're saying, look, Nigerians are not really settled from the outcome of the election. Some Nigerians are still disgruntled. If you come to knock at their door to say you want to count them, you just may be triggering some negative response from them because they're really not satisfied. They're not happy. And now what that would mean is that innocent people who are coming to do their job will be put at risk. Think about it. If many other people are like Okwi here who are saying, look, I don't want them to come to my house. I don't want anybody to come to my house. Then what is the purpose or the point of having a census if people would not even allow themselves to be counted? Again, you see that this would naturally just lead to a waste of resources if Nigerians are not on the same page with, the NPC. So perhaps Nigerians need to begin to look at it and say, look, do not allow yourselves to be used to manipulate the process, because if you say they would not count you, they'll move on to count people who want to be counted. At the end of the day, maybe resources that should come to you would not come to you because you were not counted or your numbers around your neighborhood were small. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Prince Henacho.
Good morning, Comrade Haruna. Good to have you.
Thank you very much. I love the way you parted way with Okwi. That word coming from him is an incitement of violence.
Mm-hmm.
And this is on a national radio. You understand? I wonder why people don't watch what they are saying on air. Millions of people are listening to you. And people learn from whatever you say. That's aside. The issue of census. I was expecting this government, they would have done this long before now. You understand? Not now that time is against them, they want to do it in a rush. Why in the rush? You understand? For what we are facing now, we don't have money. And you have budgeted almost 1 trillion naira for census. Although we know that the census is very, very important, it helps us, it guides us on how to go about our daily activities in this country. But the question we have to ask ourselves, are we ready financially? We don't have that money. Look at our debt status now. So I was expecting this government would have done this early 2016 or 2017. By now, would have forgotten about census and start thinking of what to do next. Because just like you said, probably they might do this census. The next administration will not make use of that result. They will tell you that these figures are not real. They are not factual. We are not going to use it. We might conduct our own census. That is Nigeria for you. You understand, Prince Enajo? So my opinion is they should hold on. Let next administration come and do it. That is what I see.
Thank you very much. Haruna says next administration should come and conduct a population census, not this one that has a few weeks to the end or the expiration of the lifespan of this administration. Now, you cannot afford to unleash violence on other Nigerians who have just come to do their innocent job. Look, Nigerians, you need to understand that some of these things actually put you in a bad position. So if the census is conducted, for instance, and the outcome of that census will be used to determine the quality or the quantity or whatever it is, the kind of projects that comes to your community or that comes to your states or even your local government, you may shortchange yourself if you're not counted. Because the truth is, bigger allocations, better projects, or bigger projects would go to communities that are considered densely populated or, more populated than others. So you want to make yourself available to be counted, if the census is going to be, conducted within the scheduled or stipulated time. Hello, good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning to Nigeria. So
Clement Zion Prince, good morning to you. Welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, so why do you need to do census? Census is required to enable government plan for election, plan for MTSs, I don't have a credit again.
Okay.
But let me summarize.
Yes, go ahead.
Why is government doing census after election, after 8 years of governance? And the amount they are budgeting for this census, why does government want to rush Nigeria into all these kind of programs that will cost billions, but we're not conserving to build refinery, we're not conserving to do roads, we're not conserving to build facilities for the common people. They just want to loot this money before they go. That's it. How many weeks to go? Credit is not enough for me to talk what I wanted to say. So good luck to Nigerians and their government.
Thank you, Clement Zion Prince. Appreciate your thoughts. Let's bring in another caller. Hello, good morning. Lost that one. Now, join the conversation. We're talking about the National Population Census. It's scheduled for May 3 to May 5. So those of you who you may come across people who maybe knock on your door to say, we want to count you. We're enumerators from the National Population Commission. Do not be surprised when they come May 3 to May 5. Prepare your minds for them. But then there are people who are calling for the postponement and saying it's not time, we shouldn't have this now. What do you make? Hello, good morning.
Yeah, my prince, good morning. God bless your heart, sir.
Good morning, take
all the good work, sir. God bless you. Yes, my name is Hundu. Say Kimbi, all the way from Nassau State. Yes, my prince, my take on the issue of census. I don't think it's necessary for this government that as they are about to exit office, they will go and conduct this census. And I'm worried that the amount of money budgeted for this exercise is too much. It's too much. So I see it as an avenue for some people who are in this government, for the cabal, to keep making the country dry. I see it an opportunity for them to steal money finally before they go. Papa, Have they not gotten enough money, my prince? Papa, now let them fear God now. Almost 1 trillion for census. Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Almost 1 trillion. This is too much now. So, you see, this is just an opportunity for them to take money away and go. It's the other one that they've been, carrying before. This is unfair. And I also want to say that, I'm worried that a lot of our people are still in IDP camps. So I'm expecting that if we are going to conduct any census, maybe not this time around, that the government should forget about building infrastructure but fight insecurity so that our people can go home. And when census is being conducted, our people will be counted at home and not at the IDP camps, because so many of our people in so many states, they are in
IDP camps.
IDP camps. Yes, and I'm worried about this. So I want those people to go home before the government can be able to send people to go to their homes and count them, and not counting them where they are, currently. And lastly, I want to say one thing, that please, I'm appealing to the, the incoming government, when they come on board, let them forget about infrastructure. It is people that are living, that are alive, that can use those things. Let them focus on insecurity. Let them deal with those who said we cannot go to bed, we are too eyes closed. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Taking Me, for your contribution. Taking Me feels it's not right for this administration to conduct the census. They should have done it earlier, or just leave it for the next administration to do when they come in. Wouldn't this generate some controversy for the next administration? I'd like to hear from you. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning. Okay, that one, we lost that one. Hello, good morning.
Hello, yeah, sure.
Yes, okay.
Good morning once again. I don't think you understand me. It's not that I'm not supporting National Population Commission, but why this time? Oh, okay, how much would we spend on INEC last election? What is the outcome of it? First, we'll get number 1, we put them for number 3. We'll get number 4, put them for number 2. You see? Yeah? That's what I'm saying. National Population Commission, okay, look at how much we're going to spend. Yeah? From 2015 to date, we didn't conduct the census. Why the end? Only 1 month to go. We're trying to deceive Nigeria. Huh? To be winning election, number 1. Put them for number 3. Tinubu get to number 4.
Who told you that Peter Obi won election? Okay, who told you that Peter Obi won election? Thank you very much, okay. I'm going to have to let you go again. Until the courts decide who it is, whatever it is, if the outcome of the election changes or not, what we know as it is what INEC has declared, and that is that we have a president-elect in the person of Asiwaju Ahmed Bola Tinubu. Until anything is done to overturn that in court, and that's the reality of things as it stands. Now, I'm joined in by Christian Chima, who is a public policy analyst. He's joining us in this conversation, talking about the 2023 census that's built for May 3 to May 5. Chima, good morning, and thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you so much, Johanna.
It's good. I haven't seen you this year, have I?
No, we've spoken on the phone, but we've not seen in person this year.
Good to have you join us. How are you doing today?
I'm good, and you?
Now, we've been talking about this. Some Nigerians, displaying their displeasure as regards the census. Some of them are of the opinion that it is not in the place of this administration to conduct a census. Some others are saying it's not just time. Let's allow tensions douse down before we get to conduct a census. What are your thoughts? I've seen some of your write-ups on the election. You're calling for the postponement of the 2023 census. What are the grounds for which you're calling for this postponement?
Well, good morning once again, and thanks for having me on your platform. And may I also take this opportunity to appreciate you and the management of Eagles FM here in Abuja for the important work you do. I see some of the topics you guys are interested in, and they are human interest topics, and they are topics that educate us, because there are a lot of people who open up the radio today and you can't even hear what a sense is out of it that they are talking about. So specifically on the census, I've looked at it and I have begged Nigerians, especially the important stakeholders, to prevail on the federal government to postpone the census by at least a factor of 7 months. And I have made 5 layers of arguments about the census. One is unaudited systems and processes. The systems and the processes we are going to be deploying come May 3 have not been audited by anyone, especially the people who stand a grave risk of being injured by the census. We saw with what happened with IREV, we saw what happened with the beavers, we saw what happened with the server. And I say to you, we like technology, but you don't just bring from the lab to the market. You must test it. We must see what we call integrity test. I have, in the course of this my research work, spoken to a doctor of computer sciences. Her specialty is on human interactions with systems. And I have learned that even as little as human interactions with systems, they can compromise even the best system. That is why you design systems with end use in mind. You must have to ask yourself, if for instance someone delays the giving of passwords to the end users or to the field officials, will it affect the time they will transmit their result from the field to the, or will it affect substantially the outcome of the process? So if you're designing a process, those processes must be critiqued, the systems must be critiqued, and after that audit and integrity test, then the public can now have implicit confidence that these systems can be used to, produce a fairly accurate demographic data of Nigeria. That is number one. Number two is the mood of the country. There was narrow scarcity before the elections. There was fuel scarcity before the elections, right? And people are still sitting in anger that INEC could not, conduct a nationally acceptable election. And you can see that from the mood. And then, as of today, even election petition is dragging on in courts. Transition is not an easy thing, especially with our history. We have had history in Nigeria. Look at what is happening all around us. So the most important issue in Nigeria today, in my own view, is the transition. So you allow the transition to happen with all the noise around it. So it is two things for NPC to be deploying their officials. Take a few moments to think about what might happen in Lagos, for instance. If the people that were flogged out of their polling units just a few weeks ago, who couldn't allow to exercise their franchise, you're now coming back to knock on their doors today to ask them how many kids do you have, how many toilets do you have, how many bedrooms do you have, and then you want to count them as part of the Lagos population. And it's not just in Lagos, it is all across the country. There is this general apprehensiveness. And my advice is for Nigerians to prevail on their government, to allow tensions to die down a bit, to allow the fracture of the elections, because once you do elections, not just in Nigeria, it's usually, that's why you talk about national healing. Even if it's Tinubu that is sworn in eventually, the person sworn in, whoever it is, will have to heal the nation first before you now carry on with policies. You have to unite. As of today, Nigeria is so fractured to go into a major national exercise. And the third point is the capital, the human capacity of the NPC itself, and that's where the mess is really. Because if you look at the manner of appointment of the 37 or 38 commissioners and then the chief executive officer of that organization, all you have to do is to look at section 213 of the constitution to see how they are appointed, right? And then you begin to see that their allegiance is not to Nigeria but to people who facilitated their appointment. Then beyond that, that organization has not done any major national exercise in 17 years. The last exercise they did was in 2006. And so what we have in NPC is just like a vehicle that we have packed for 17 years. And before we get back on that vehicle to do a long distance journey, we need to know that the rusty parts have been oiled, the tires have been inflated, the services have been done, and we need to verify all this. And today, there is no verification that NPC has upgraded itself to acquire the kind of capacities it needs to deploy nationally and manage the affairs of the census competently. Even what we know today is that that organization has continued to bungle its own internal training models. Now move away from training, go into ad hoc recruitment. The people who are going to function as ad hoc staff in this exercise have not known. Some of them don't know. Some of them are having challenges logging into the systems. There were chatters about hacking of systems. A lot of things are happening. And if you don't prevail on them to show that they are really competent, not to say, because what they keep doing is, I assure you, not assuring us. People have to investigate these things to see really that you are able and you are in tune to do what you call a national exercise. Then after you have exhausted that topic, then the other thing you talk about is the political pressure. There is this, especially that Nigeria's resources are shared based on census number. 30% is based on census number. That is determines how much polling units, for instance, you can get, how many data capturing devices INEC can send to your place during continuous voter registration exercise. So because a lot of important delimitations in Nigeria are decided by census, there is this motivation by political actors to inflate census numbers, especially at the subnational and at the local government levels, right? And then we're now saying, we're looking at everything that has happened in Nigeria. we know that this pressure will be deployed, but we don't see the processes to avert this pressure. For instance, if you look at Buhari's government, do we trust that after overseeing a disappointing national elections, that he can oversee a fairly credible census? And if the answer is no, why then should we allow them to carry on with an exercise that is costing Nigeria 860 something billion of borrowed money, right? And the last is the general lack of awareness, really. Ask the ordinary man on the street. I have 3 questions to ask. Do you know that there is an upcoming census? For the most people I've asked, the answer is no. Now, will you participate in the upcoming census? Because the NPC needs the participation of Nigerians to make this work. Because if I come to your house and you don't welcome me, then you can't take enumeration in my house. Now, I have asked Nigerians, if this exercise we are to hold today, will you gladly participate? The answers are yes and no. And that no should trouble Nigeria. And then the last question is, do you trust the NPC to conduct a fairly credible census exercise? And for the most part, the answer is no. And so until you answer these 3 questions satisfactorily, I don't think that NPC has a business conducting a census. They are carrying on because Nigerians have not asked them to stop. Nigerians retain the agency to ask them not to stop, but to postpone it until when the time is right, and then until when all these issues have been satisfactorily, taken care of.
Well, so the conversation continues. We'll be talking some more about, the insecurity in the country and what it pertains with, with the national census around the corner. The census, it's just less than 3 weeks away, and some of these very vital questions seem not to have been satisfactorily answered. We'll be talking more. Keep it with us.
There you are, riding in silence, both deep in thought. I bet you the driver think this ride shouldn't cost more, and you the passenger are sure you're overpaying. Never mind, let's just stay quiet. Or you can both download InDrive and agree on a fair price beforehand. InDrive, people driven. The InDrive online passenger transportation aggregator is not a taxi service. For more information, visit indrive.com.
Again, thank you so much for staying with us. This is your radio experience you can count on. We'll be talking about the National Population Census slated for May 3 to May 5, 2023. Seems like the Buhari administration just wants to have this out of the way. This census, by the way, for those of you who don't know, will be costing the nation about 869 billion naira, which is equivalent to about $1.88 billion. And in that space of, and there's some issues that have come up in this short period. People are saying, well, they haven't been able to identify those who are going to be, enumerators. And let's look at the fact that Nigeria is dealing with some level of insecurity, and many Nigerians may not be open to having strangers coming to their premises, coming to their homes to say they want to count them, because we're seeing situations where criminals take advantage of things like this to get into people's homes and perpetrate evil. At this point, some people are saying Nigeria is not ready for this. You put forward some very valid arguments, but again, when would ever be the right time? Because even if we say this administration cannot conduct the census or should not conduct the census, leave it to the next administration. When the next administration comes on board, people would also say, oh, this administration wants to take advantage to inflate the numbers in areas that would favor them and all. Would there ever be a right time to conduct the census, Chima?
Yes, there would be. And that is why you have to assure all the stakeholders. What I have laid out in the 10 series of things I've laid out in my engagement with stakeholders is this: that because of the atmosphere of mutual distrust, whether it's Buhari's government, it's Tinubu's government, it's Atiku's government, it's P2B's government, or even Ihanacho's government, people will still distrust you, right? Especially, in this atmosphere, a few months, maybe a few months into your administration, you could be able to get some form of level of, public trust. But now what we're asking is that Nigerians are represented in their clusters. For instance, the Igbos are represented by Ohanese Ndigbo and Southeast Governors Forum. Yorubas have Afenifere and Southwest Governors Forum. The Middle Belt have Middle Belt Forum, and then I think they have their Northwest Governors Forum. So these clusters of individuals, Muslims can be represented by Murik. There is a Northeast Governors Forum. There is a North-West Governors Forum. There is Arewa Consultative Forum. So these individuals representing all the entities, geographic entities in Nigeria, will have to nominate their technical leads or technical teams who will go into the systems and evaluate INEC's MPC systems and processes and be part of what is happening, so that if anything is going awry, they can go back to their team and say, Northern Elders Forum, something is going wrong, and Northern Elders Forum can say, no, we can't allow this to go wrong. If they go back to Northern Elders Forum and say, I think the systems are fairly good now, they can retain the confidence. So I've said, allow a multi-stakeholder audit and integrity test. That is one way to reassure all Nigerians and strengthen the laws around the process. One of the things around the census is that MPC is not required by law to show all workings. Any elementary student of mathematics will understand what I mean by show all work. It's not just telling us that the answer is 4, but showing how you arrived at the answer. As at today, researchers applied for the C2C copy, the certified true copy of the raw data that they predicated the 2006 census on. It hasn't been released. So even INEC, with all the bumbling inefficiencies, is required by law to provide ballot papers if you need them, IREV reports, BVAS reports, and everything that will help them prove that what they announce is the actual results, right? But MPC is not, mandated to show all working, so they can just go in, do whatever they want to do, and then announce results, and you can't question it. They are not even allowed to show you how they arrive at that. And in that atmosphere of secrecy, even if you did it to the best of your ability, still there is that element of, so why don't you open up the process? Well, that's what we talk about. We talk about data transparency in governance, but the laws around these things are still short. As of today, nobody has seen, apart from a few privileged government insiders, the regulations governing the upcoming census. Nobody has seen the guidelines to see. As enlightened as you are, Ihanacho, you don't know what happens between the time they knock on your door and the time your data is officially gazetted. At least in the case of INEC, we know that there was pre-election accreditation, there was voting, there was supposed to be transmission, and there was supposed to be collation, and there was supposed to be another transmission, and then there was supposed to be final collation, and there were another, making of returns. At least the processes were laid out, and that is why people are arguing in court that those processes were not substantially complied with, right? That argument is left for the court. But in the case of this MPC, we don't even know what the processes are. And in that kind of atmosphere, you must have to make the processes public. People have to critique the processes and then strengthen the processes. So we're not saying postpone indefinitely. We're saying allow for 7 months. Why 7 months? Allow for the new government to come in and stabilize. Allow for the new government to find its feet. Allow for the system to be audited. If the federal government is serious, the systems can be audited and strengthened between now and the next 7 months, right? And then allow for the tensions to die down. Once you have an inauguration, 1, and then you have the election petition, especially at the Supreme Court, dusted with 2, all the anxiety you see around these things will die off. People will move on, including the losers, right? And then once people have moved on, in that atmosphere where there is no more tension or agitations as to what might happen, then you can now call people together and say, look, let us build back our country. And then in that process, you can now conduct your exercise, even with the insecurity, right? Because you will identify the flashpoints. For instance, in Benue, we know the local governments that are troublesome. In Nasarawa, it is known. In the Middle Belt, it is known. So police can concentrate their resources on those flashpoints. But as of today, with the general apprehensiveness, you cannot even say which is the flashpoint. It can happen in Lagos. It can happen in Abuja. Your agents can be assaulted anywhere because people are angry. And that's why we're saying take your time to diffuse the tension and then focus on localized insecurity and then conduct your census exercise.
Now, speaking of the guidelines, perhaps MPC is not engaging Nigerians the much that it should, because before the elections we saw INEC constantly in the media, engaging with Nigerians at different levels, letting them in on what it is, the entire process. Perhaps NPC hasn't been able to do this, by engaging Nigerians, letting them know bit by bit what the process entails and how it's expected to run. And to say that we have less than 3 weeks,
2 weeks and two weeks exactly today. 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
It was 2 weeks and 2 days yesterday. It is now 2 days ago.
If we have 2 weeks to conduct this whole census for the entire nation, shouldn't
everybody
NPC
know
and every Nigerian be aware, how this process would be conducted? I'm going to take you up on the issue of audits. INEC, for instance, the Beavers. This was the first time Beavers was deployed. And many people would say, look, to the best of what they know, Beavers really served the purpose that it was meant for when it came to accreditation. But when it came to uploading of the results, they could see that the Beavers had the capacity to do so. It was just what you mentioned earlier, the human interaction with the device that was more of the problem in that regard. Now, even if we subject these devices to audits and testing and all, and they come out good, who is to say that the results or the data from the census cannot also be manipulated?
That's why you don't just audit systems, you audit processes, right? Systems are your iPad, the Beavers, the IRF, but the processes around them is also to be audited. For instance, NPC in this instance is going to be relying on about 700,000 ad hoc staff. Beyond that, they have RACTEX. No, I don't. They are equivalent of RACTEX. They have the ICT department. They have they have several layers of, as you would expect within that complex organization. Each single one of these individuals have varying degrees of autonomy over the systems. They have varying degrees of autonomy over the processes, right? And that's why you have to audit both the systems and the processes. Why? Because let's go back to the INEC. If you can, as little as delaying giving people of password, it has entirely compromised the whole process. So anybody who is telling you that the Beavers is a game changer does not understand it. It's a huge waste of people's resources. Because did we achieve the result at the end of the day? The answer is no. So even if you get the best systems and you don't match it up with the best processes, you're going to get a flawed outcome, right? So you have to interrogate the systems. You have also to interrogate the processes. Okay, why do you have to wait for password? Since you have a password that gives you access to the Beavers, do you need a second password? So these are questions people should have asked before time and get satisfactory answers. And remember that we are back on your station to ask for these important questions, that people should audit those processes before the elections. The server, who has access to the server? Where is this server domiciled? Can people have agents? As you have agents in the field during the elections, can we have agents in the server room? So that those agents can be there, they are knowledgeable ICT experts, just being there with the server, so that if you are having issues with whether there was downtime, whether it was temporarily switched off, they can know and report in real time. So the way you migrate, so these things are complex and you have to review them holistically. If you talk about NPC now, the processes are quite complex. The GPS systems, we don't know how they function, and then we're saying if you leave porous systems to individuals who can corrupt those systems, whether they are induced or coerced, they will have to tamper with it. So that's why you have to design a system that you can't get 100%, but you can get something that is not as abysmal as what we saw on February 25th. That's what we're looking at.
Still sticking with that, during the elections or after the elections, we got to find out that the trainings that were supposed to go on for ad hoc staff, most of the trainings didn't happen, and even where they did, seemed like the ad hoc staff did not really understand what they were trained on. The same scenario is playing out. There are those who are considered who the NPC is recruiting as facilitators, who are supposed to carry out a 10-day training. We have less than about 12 days or 14 days, about 14 days to the census, and these trainings haven't been done. These facilitators are supposed to be paid around 141,000 naira. There's also the special works people that would get about 171,000 naira for within the period. These trainings haven't gone on. What's the guarantee that this census would be successful if 14 days to the census trainings haven't been undertaking, and the people who are supposed to carry out this exercise don't even know if they're going to carry out the exercise. Some of them haven't been officially recruited.
You know, I wrote to political parties and their leadership and presidential candidates and their presidential campaign councils. I told them interrogate the processes around the elections. They did not. They said, oh, INEC assured us that Beaver is a game changer. INEC is assuring you, but they've not trained their staff. As at the election day, I have evidence, solid evidence. 2 p.m. on the election day, INEC was still recruiting officials that will conduct the elections, on the presidential elections. 2 p.m. in Oka, Anambra State, INEC sent text messages by 2 p.m. for people to come quickly to the INEC state office to now come and become coalition agents. An election that is ongoing, you don't even know who your coalition agents are. And those coalition agents don't know that they have been appointed. Yes, there was one layer of interview, but after the interview, all of them went. Nobody told them anything until the election day. So some of them showed up on the election day, and that was how you saw that the coalition was a mess, because the coalition officers were not properly trained. And that it's evidence. It's every day. It can be proved. And what I'm saying to you can be proved, right? Today, MPC has not trained its officials. That is a public knowledge. The training models have been bungled. It is also public knowledge. But if you allow them, they will carry on and push to the field people who are not knowledgeable. And when you are dealing with data, especially when you're dealing with demographic data, any student of economics or anybody who has done any survey at all will know that the success of your survey is reliant on the people who are going to harvest that data. If they are not properly equipped to do the job, then why waste the money? So if you have not done the training for any reason, we are not begrudging you. It might be money, it might be anything. They might be having technical issues. I hear that there's something around the systems. Those are speculations. I don't want to go into speculations. I like staying on what we know and what we can prove. But there are speculations about system downtime and all of those things. Those ones I don't know. But whatever the challenge is, why don't you take some time off to address the challenges before you rush us into an exercise? You are underprepared. We all know you are underprepared. You even know you're underprepared. But you keep saying, we assure you, we assure you, we assure you. And at the end of the day, this will end up being a waste of 869 billion naira of borrowed money. If this is our money and Nigeria is in surplus, fine. This money can go into health. This money can go into education. This money can go into insecurity. But we have decided, according to the intelligence available to the leadership of Nigeria, that this money is to be invested. And when we talk about contract inflation, there's a different case on its own. But we're not even talking about that. Take all this 869 billion, but give us a credible census. And for now, with what we're seeing, this is not going to happen. That's why I keep calling on Nigerians. If we have to approach the cost to secure an injunction, approach the cost. If you have to protest in front of MPC offices, protest. If you have to stay on the media, stay on the media. But you don't allow them to walk into this national exercise and blow away the money, and then we will not achieve any results.
All right, we hear that the census will be conducted in partnership with various development partners, including the United Nations Population Agency, UNFPA, as well as the EU, among others, who would provide sufficient technical and financial support, and also manage the basket fund established for the redemption of pledges. So people would be donating monies towards this cause. Now, the UNFPA, do you think that when you say they provide sufficient financial and technical support, do you think that these organizations like this will stand by and watch, the census being bungled, like you say?
Those same people provided technical support for Nigeria during the elections, and you saw the outcome. They provided financial support to INEC. A lot of the things that happened with INEC was not funded by Nigeria. Some of them were funded. Some of the overseas training, some of the technical supports were funded by some of these agencies. And if you understand international law, you will not blame them that much. Because I see people saying, oh no, you're blaming them. You don't blame them that much, because Nigeria is a sovereign nation. You cannot help a man that does not want to be helped. Regardless of all their best intentions, in terms of census management and things like this, Nigeria is a sovereign nation. And if you understand the United Nations, for instance, it is a peer pressure. They can't enforce any law on Nigeria. They can't determine who becomes our president. If Nigerians allow them to carry on the census, UNFPA does not even retain the rights to say that Nigerians will not have a census. Right? So if you understand the limitations of their engagements, especially knowing that what they do is in advisory capacity, and not in any, they don't have any influence whatsoever. So if you advise a country and they don't take your advice, then you withhold yourself and allow them to do and engage within the limited scope they have allowed you to engage. So it is only Nigerians that can ensure a free, fair, and credible process, not United Nations, not UNFPA, not EU in Nigeria, not US in Nigeria, not USAID, not anybody. It is only Nigerians that can save Nigeria. If Nigerians refuse to be responsible for their countries and they are looking for outsiders to help them, unfortunately, those outsiders, even when they have the best of intentions, we are now working under the assumption that they have the best of intentions for Nigeria. Even when they have the best of intentions for Nigeria, the limited engagement capacity will not allow them to implement those intentions. And finally, if you're talking about these people, Nigeria has a history with, for instance, World Bank. Nigeria has a history with the other one, IMF. Today, you know that they have approved additional loan of, I think, 800 million US dollars to be disbursed to, and these are the people you are dealing with. And they know that these monies will end up the Nigerian way, but they are approving such loans. And so when you look around what has happened in Nigeria, what is happening, and the context with which is happening, you will not retain any confidence whatsoever on those people you've mentioned.
Let's join the conversation now. 090-7353-0044 and 090-8766-8888. You can send SMS and WhatsApp messages to 090-9705-4450. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Yanacho.
Good morning, Okwi. We've heard you. Okwi.
I agree to your guest. Yeah, your guest hit the nail at the head. Yes, I agree to him.
Okay.
Issue of census once again. From 2015 to date, Mr. President did not conduct census. Why now? This issue. That's the question we're asking. That's 8 years. You left 1 month to go. You come and conduct census. Okay, look at how much they're going to spend. Almost 1 trillion. That's half of our budget.
It's not half of our budget. It's not half of our budget.
They just want to share our money and go. That's why. Okay, what of insecurity? What of all these local states and local governments where there is insecurity? Where are you? How are you going to go there and count people? I have said it. I have said it. If you don't say you be, I will take you bad. Thank you.
Thank you, Okwi. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. Please put down the volume of your radio.
Okay, this is ID Noble from Orozo.
ID Noble, good to have you.
Yeah, before I proceed, please permit me to just beg you. You know, I've been trying since. Some people have been calling more than one, and the time they are giving them is too long. So please, I'm just begging. That is what I have to say. Then, secondly, concerning the guest in the studio, I want to say may God bless him. In fact, he has said it all. I don't think I have any other thing. It's so. I don't know what to say. God will just bless him more and more. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ID Noble, and we're taking that under advisement as well. Join in 090-7353-0044 and 090-8766-8888. In case you didn't know, there's a national population census slated for May 3 to May 5. It's about 2 weeks from now. The census will be conducted. Nigerians will be counted to see what numbers it is. We've been working with the projection of 2006. From 2006, saying Nigerians are over 200 million people. We'll find out for sure if or would get to find out what it is that this census would say. I can say for sure. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes. I want to say.
What's your name, please?
This is Michael calling for Nassau.
I didn't get your name, sir.
This is Michael calling for Nassau.
Oh, Michael, go ahead, please. Let's hear you. A little different.
Okay. You thank you. I think can they get this thing? Then I mean, they are thinking about the new government. Let them allow the new government to carry on with all this because I'm not going to come to finding budget in the name of census or whatever. I think they should allow the incoming government to do that. You understand? All this fire brigade approach is something we don't need it. These are the things that can have done a longer time before now.
But they are just being in a hurry to do that. We don't need that. I think the incoming government should do that. That's it.
All right, thank you very much, Michael. Appreciate you calling in. And it's quite unfortunate our clock is in the ceiling. We'll have to wrap this up now. Now, Chima, what would be your final thoughts to Nigerians, as well as your call to the NPC? We know that you're calling for a postponement of this election, and you put forward your arguments. But then, if NPC decides, look, we're going to go ahead with this, all of these concerns of yours, all of these worries have been considered. There's been a risk, assessment, and we see that we can go ahead with this. What would you say?
It's up to Nigerians to determine the kind of country they want. Democracy functions, in my own view, it functions like an open market. Like there is a demand and supply kind of governance. If Nigerians don't demand for credible census, believe me, it will not be supplied. It's only Nigerians that will demand. They have options of approaching the courts, using the media, using their social media, writing to their chiefs, their igwes, their governors, everybody they know. They also have the option of picketing, protesting. They also have options of saying, no, we don't want. If a nation says we don't want, we are not ready. Believe me, no NPC is powerful enough to conduct the census when Nigerians say that they don't want. But the thing happening with Nigerians is that they see things, they complain about it, but they don't take action. I invite Nigerians to take action. If we take action, Nigerians, this census can work for all of us. I like the census that is coming up, but we want to make sure that it is credible. Given the circumstances, it's not credible. If we finish all we can and they carry on with the census, we will leave Nigerians. Remember, we did all these things before the elections, and Nigerians refused to take action. We allow them. Today, they see the consequences. In fact, this census is even more consequential than the elections. And if you look at the housing side of the census, you begin to see what might happen to people, because the methodology is so risky. Because look at, for instance, in Benue, that there are people attacking communities, sacking communities, and demolishing houses and burning houses. NPC is saying that they will not count those burnt houses. However, you know that in some of those places, people have pitched in small parchments of places where they live to do their business, rear their cattle, and they are saying that they will count those places as new settlements and new houses. So what happens to people in Benue? For instance,
what happens to those in IDP camps?
IDP camps, and then you're now going to count houses that were erected because of insecurity as part of the original houses belonging to all. So there are a lot of mess around the census. And if Nigerians see the enormity of what is going to hit them about this census, they will take action. Unfortunately, if they don't, well, we all live and suffer the consequences.
Chima, Christian public policy analyst, thank you so much for sharing thoughts with us this morning. Quite an interesting conversation always with you. And Nigerians, it's up to you to decide, and it's like up to us to see what plays out. But then, if the census goes on, please do not unleash violence on anyone. Do not attack anybody. Allow them conduct the census. It's the job that they have taken on. So please ensure that you give them the support that's required. Also allow yourself to be counted, because if you don't, you just might be shortchanging and your community. Stay with us on your radio experience. You can count on. Business News is up next. Right after that, we get on with the Midday Extra crew taking over proceedings from where I left off. Keep it locked here. This is Eagles 102.3, and my name is